Hello again everyone. Today, we will be walking through BlackJack in C# Visual Studio 2013. Before I start explaining, I suggest reading my summarized rules for the game, which I left in the description of the video. As we start the game, we are welcomed to the login page, where we have to enter our username and our password. As we click Login, we get sent to a new page where the game is actually played. To start the game, we press the Start button and straight away ours and the one of the dealer's cards is shown on the screen. We also get two labels reviewing what cards we have and their sum. Now we have a choice of either to draw another card or to hold. If we press Draw, we get given another card which also appears on the screen. The value of the card is added to the previous sum and that becomes a new total. Now if we press Hold, we will see the pathway the dealer has taken. There will be a label sure enough who won and why. After this has happened, the game gives us two choices to either restart the game or return back to the login page. So if I press Restart, we can play again, and we press Menu, we will close this current page and return to the login page where all our information has been wiped off to prevent unauthorized access. Now that we have walked through how the game looks outside, let's dive in and see how it works inside. First of all, I will introduce you to the three main tabs which are included in this code. One of them is the Class tab. This class holds three global static fields: global username, global pass, and global ID, with default values. These are accessible and changeable through public properties, making them shared data across the whole program. Then we have the Form tab, which is responsible for the login page. Here we review the global username and password to see if the user is authorized and allowed to enter the game. In case of a wrong password or username, we get a message box telling us that there's a mistake, and then we are returned back to the login page with empty fields. However, if we type in the correct login, we will get sent to a different tab where we can start playing the game. This tab is called BlackJack Interface, and this is where the game actually takes place. There's a lot more code in this tab, but we will slowly go through each block, so don't worry. At the top, the game creates two lists, which will contain player's hand and the dealer's hand. We also import a random so that later in the code this will define what card the players get. Furthermore, we got two variables called whatIndex and whatIndex for dealer, which I will explain later in the video. As we load BlackJack Interface, we hide all the unnecessary buttons and clear the labels, so that the only button on the screen is the Start button. As we press the Start button, first of all the Start button disappears, and we see a Draw and I Hold button appear on the screen, which we will be using to play the game. Addition to this, using the Draw Card P1 function, we add two random cards the player hands list. And using the Draw Card P2 function, we add two random cards to the dealer's hand list. Let's see how the Draw Card functions for both P1 and P2 show us the picture boxes of cards. To start with, a random number between 2 and 12 is picked, which represents the values of the cards in the game. And then if the whatIndex variable, which we have seen at the top of the code, equals to 1, the game will show us the first picture box. So to put this down simply, the whatIndex variable determines which picture box is going to be shown next. And because the whatIndex for now is 1, the game will go through this iteration, so as we can see if the random number between 2 and 12 will be, for example, 7, the game will assign the first picture box to be 7 of diamonds in this case. And to make sure that the next card will be shown in the next picture box instead of the one we have just shown to the player, we assigned the war index to be 2, so that now, depending on what random code the user has received, that card will be shown in the next picture box instead of the first. And this is the same principle for all 5 cards the user may draw. The Draw Card P2 function works exactly the same way, except we have a different variable. Instead of whatIndex, we have whatIndex for dealer, Plus here we're using different picture boxes as they are the picture boxes for the dealer's cards. Okay, this was a tough one to explain, but I hope everyone is still on track. Both functions return a random number, which is placed into the list of either the player or the dealer. Now we can either press the draw button or the hold button. If we press the draw button, we will add another random number into the player hand list and show another picture box for the new card. Then we will calculate the sum of all the numbers in the player hands list using the calculate hand function. This function is much easier than the one we have explained before, but listen carefully, otherwise you might fall off track. First of all, take notice that we give a list parameter into this function. Inside the functions we create two variables, total and ace count, which are above 0. Then the code goes through each value in the list and checks if any value is equal to 11. This is done to see if there are any aces in the hand. And if there is, we will add on to the ace count variable to keep calm how many aces there is. And if not, we will just sum up all the cards and make the total equal to that value. Furthermore, in this function, depending if we have any aces and the total is above 21, the code will change the 11 to a 1 so that the user will not bust, and of course subtract 1 from the ace count because we have just used an ace. Also, just because this is a user-friendly game, we change all the 11s in the deck to be 1 so that the user doesn't get confused. To do this, we're using the ace fix function, which is here. And then we return the total. We go back to the draw button code to see what happens next, and we can see that this scores function starts. This is pretty easy, it just shows us what cards both dealer and the player have. If we continue pressing the draw button, and our total, which we got from the calculator hand function, will be over 21, we will lose because we busted. And the game will finish. However, if we press the hold button, the code will give the dealer as much causes in needs because he has to have a total of at least 17. If the dealer is lucky and no one busted, we'll move on to the find winner function, where we create two variables which represent the deal is to player's total and see who was closer to 21. After the game is finished, we get introduced to two buttons, which is the rest stop and the menu button, that I have already explained at the start of the video. Thank you for listening.